Welcome back, friends. You remember last time we were discussing chapter 13 with the mark of the beast being enforced upon the planet. And now Revelation chapter 14 goes into God's answer to that and what we as God's people can do to refuse the mark of the beast. So in chapter 14 it says, I looked, and lo, a lamb, Jesus Christ, stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads. So this is God's people with the Father's name in their foreheads, which means they belong to God. They belong to the Father. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and the four beings, and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So we're going to learn a beautiful song. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which followed the Lamb, Jesus, wheresoever he goes. These were redeemed from among men, the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, lies, or deceitfulness, for they are without fault before the throne of God. There's been lots of speculation, interpretation about the 144,000. What it means to me is this is a group of people, men and women, who have devoted themselves to the worship of God. In their body temples, they only allow the worship of God. They don't allow idolatry to stay in their body temples. And so the defilement with women is the idolatry and joining in the false doctrines and teachings of Babylon, confusion, and defiling our body temples with, false worship, satanic practices, idolatries, lies, sorceries, and bad stuff. So these people love Jesus, and they're devoted to him in their body, soul, and spirit, and that's why they're not defiled with women. That's why they're not, they don't get the mark of the beast. They've got the seal of God. They got the Father's name. Verse 6, And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting, the continuing gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. So we have this message from heaven, calling upon people everywhere throughout the world to respect and fear and honor God above earthly powers, above nationalities, above government. And the point of it is we are to worship not the beast in his image. We're not to receive the mark, the name, or the number of the beast, but that we're to worship him that created all things in heaven and on earth and the seas, the fountains of waters. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. The seventh day is the Sabbath. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the seas, and all that in them is, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Exodus chapter 20. And so this is a call to return back to the Creator. He made heaven and earth in 6 days and rested on the seventh day and blessed the seventh day. And as you know, the seventh day, the Jews have been keeping the seventh-day Sabbath for thousands of years. It hasn't changed. The calendar hasn't changed the weekly cycle. From sundown Friday to sundown Sabbath is how the Sabbath is observed. From evening unto evening shall you celebrate your Sabbaths, Leviticus 23. And so it's the same. And it's such a blessing. I've been observing the Sabbath for many years, 35 plus years, and it's always been a blessing to me to observe the Sabbath. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, her sexual immorality. Now this is the second angel's message declaring the fall of Babylon. Babylon means confusion. She represents all the fallen churches, the apostate churches, the churches that have given themselves to idolatry and joined with the powers of darkness. And this is pictured more fully in Revelation chapter 17 and 18, where Babylon is exposed as the apostate religious worship system. And so Babylon has fallen because of her sins. And she's forcing all nations to drink of her wine through the pushing the mark of the beast, the number of the beast, the name of the beast. She's pushing all nations to drink of her immorality, her sexual idolatry, her idolatry. And in other words, turning people away from the true God to worship other things. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture, into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends up forever and ever, continuously, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast in his image and whoever receives the mark of his name. So it's a severe penalty to follow the worldly way, to become worldly wise and worship the beast in his image and receive his mark. It's true that if we be a saint and every earthly support is cut off, and we trust God to supply our needs, our water and our food, and take care of us, we get rich rewards. Having the Father's name on our foreheads, we get rich rewards being devoted to God and having the rewards of paradise and so on. But those who receive the mark of the beast, the worldly way, will suffer terribly. They will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of Jesus, the Lamb. Now this fire and brimstone is sulfur. It's a purification agent. This fire, there's two kinds of fire, you know. There's physical fire, which burns to physical ashes. Sodom and Gomorrah was burned up with physical fire that burnt them to ashes. And there's spiritual fire, for our God is a consuming fire. Not literal, but spiritual, symbolic fire, because God is love. His fire is his love. John said Jesus Christ would baptize people with the Holy Spirit and with fire. And so the fire is a purification element that purifies us from sin, that purifies our body temples, that cleanses us from the inside out. It's the breath, it's the wind, it's the Spirit of God, and it's the love of God. And so the holy angels in Jesus Christ, the only fire they have is pure holy fire, the love of God. Jesus said in Luke chapter 12, verse 49, I have come to send fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already started or kindled. And the fire that Jesus brought is the fire of revival and reformation, the fire of righteousness, holiness, purity, godliness, love. And so this fire is going to torment the wicked day and night, those who have the mark of the beast. They have chosen the wrong way. They filled their body temple with idolatry and sin, and now they're exposed to the love of Jesus and the angels, the truth and righteousness of God, and it's tormenting their conscience day and night. They have no rest because of their sins. It's going to be terrible torment for them. The remorse, the shame, the regret, it's going to be horrible that they go through because they burnt their conscience. They put their conscience in the freezer, and now it's being exposed, and their conscience is burning like a hot iron. As it says, Paul wrote to Timothy, their conscience burns like a hot iron. So here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. So the saints, God's people who escaped the mark of the beast, they keep God's commandments. The commandments were not nailed to the cross. The commandments are not done away. Thou shalt not steal still applies today. You shall not commit adultery still applies today. You shall not murder still applies today. Remember the Sabbath day still applies today. The 10 Commandments are valid today. And so that's the point of that. The law of God which is fulfilled in love. Love for God and love for one another. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them. So at this time, a lot of people are going to be laid to sleep. But the Spirit gives encouragement. It's going to be okay. They're going to be resurrected. they're going to be able to enter into the joy of the Lord. When Jesus comes, he's going to raise them up. So this is an encouragement for those who go to sleep at this time, at the beginning of the time of trouble and so on. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. Now this is describing a type of farming agriculture where the farmer goes out with a long pole with a sharp blade on the end of it, and he swings it and cuts the ripening crop. Could be the wheat, or the barley, or whatever grain it is. He's cutting down the crop that he planted months ago, and now he's gathering in the harvest. And this is talking about the harvest of people. Now there's two harvests pictured here, and I think this might be the harvest of the righteous. Jesus is harvesting the righteous. Maybe this is the 144,000. I'll have to research it a little bit more. And another angel, verse 17, another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in your sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, and even into the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So this harvest has a lot of blood, a lot of wrath, a lot of suffering. And Revelation chapter 20 talks about those who were beheaded, who refused the mark of the beast. They didn't get the mark of the beast, but they were beheaded. And there's going to be a lot of martyrs for Jesus in these last days, as well as those who are translated and do not taste of death, physical death. They just get taken straight up. Those of us who are alive at the coming of Christ will receive immortality while we're still standing here. We'll just suddenly we'll be clothed with immortality. And we'll just be taken up in the air to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord for that 1,000 years in heaven in paradise. And then after that we'll come back to earth, and then the wicked dead will be resurrected, and then they will be judged. And that's how that works out. So what we're entering into now is the close of human probation. That is, there'll be no more work of salvation going on for that 1,000 years. The next chapter, chapter 15, tells us that the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God, and no man was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. So once the 7 last plagues start falling on the planet, there's no more salvation. It's too late. And it's going to be a horrible experience when the grapes of wrath are trodden out and all that blood flows out. It's just going to be a horrible experience for the wicked who have rejected the shelter of God's presence, the shelter of God's love and truth and righteousness. A lot of suffering for them. So, okay, well, we have lots to look forward to, and we know that we're entering the end of time. The world has been in a lockdown and a shutdown for the last 2-3 months. The whole world has been economically shut down. We've been under house arrest. We've had to be wearing masks, and most businesses have been shut down. Some will never open again. It's really horrible, and it's a big wake-up call. Now is the time to prepare to meet your God. Now is the time to get ready for paradise, for eternity. Set your house in order. Get ready. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Okay, friends, God bless you, and we'll continue on next time. Many blessings.